Oh, hold on, mate. I haven't got my Audacity up. No, it was my fault really because I was being stupid. I was loading. I was trying to load up the internet and play something on YouTube, and had Audacity and Discord open, and it just couldn't handle it. So it just froze. So yeah, but it's up now. It wanted to do a disk check, but I said no, skip that. I'm not. So yeah, I managed to get on. So I'm not gonna load up anything. I'm just gonna load up Audacity.
Welcome to Screen Bytes, the podcast about gaming, technology, TV, and movies. This is our last episode where we talk about episodes 7 and 8 of the Fallout TV show.
Episode 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Where we left off in the past, Howard is going to meet Modeva, and in the future, where Lucy was going to meet Modeva. So I think it starts off in the past, doesn't it? Where Howard is, he meets Modeva in this like
church cathedral building.
Yeah, like, but specifically in like one of those, in this backroom meeting, which he's quite like she doesn't really give a good evidence that there is some sort of corruption. It's just like, these are big corporations. What do you expect? They've put so much money into this. They want to get something out of it. What's the point pouring all this money in and they're not going to get anything out of it? What's the whole point?
I suppose if you are in the world and you know the context around what she's saying, it might make a bit of sense. So if you go in there and you've got Howard's friend telling you this, that, and the other, even though she hasn't explicitly said it, you can kind of put it all together. Yeah.
Well, he just assumes that this lady's crazy, and he just comes out of the meeting. But she manages to talk to him after the meeting and asks Howard to basically spy on his family, spy on his wife, and try and get some evidence of what is going.
Yeah, and it was like, if you don't believe me, look, have a listen for yourself, and we'll give you here's how you can do it.
So at first he was like, "This is crazy. I'm not going to do that. Like, that's betraying every moral."
I mean, we're talking about his wife.
Exactly. So he decides to throw it in the bin, and then he does like what anyone would do. They start having doubts, and then he's like, "Oh, I need it back." So he starts looking through the trash, and I was like, "That's funny," because that's exactly what I would be like that. I'd be like, well, maybe.
Yeah. So I think what happens is there's like a rule change, and suddenly dogs aren't allowed, and he really likes his dog. In pre-war Howard, he really likes his dog. And they kind of have a little bit of a tiff or something, like not full on argument, but he's just like, well, how can they just make this decision without, they can't make a decision without telling us or without asking us. And then she's like, well, yes, of course. Like, why did you think you were going to take the dog with us? Like, the vault's for humans. He's obviously a bit upset about not being able to take his dog, and that kind of it starts this whole thing going,
where he basically gives a lift to his wife. To Vault-Tec, and he initially is trying to spy on her in his car, but because of the range of this little mic he's put inside his wife's like purse, or it can't really pick it up, so he decides to go in and try and get a better reception. But I think we should probably lead on to
because that's actually in episode 8.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah.
So you take it from there then, Josh.
Just to go back to the meeting with him and Moldova, what we learn is who she is that, and we learn why she has a beef with Vault-Tec. So she is a scientist, and she is working on cold fusion, some technology to create unlimited power, because obviously that's every TV show these days, unlimited power or unlimited life. That seems to be the one thing everyone's going for. So unlimited power, which is quite interesting because in the Fallout universe, they have nuclear power, which, nuclear power is dangerous. There's a lot of power in nuclear power. Like, it's actually quite long-lasting. So, like, when you put... So, like, the Pit Boys, they're powered by something like a fusion core that's just built in. And it said that a Pit Boy will last longer than any given wearer's lifespan. And there's a few other things in the Fallout universe, like cars come with like a mini nuclear reactor within them, and it doesn't need any more energy for the whole of the car's operating lifestyle. The red rockets, they don't provide fuel to the cars, they provide coolant, and that's the kind of... So energy, long-term energy isn't actually that difficult in the Fallout universe. So in some sense, cold fusion, unlimited power, yes, it could still be quite useful, but it also doesn't seem as necessary as we might need in our universe, because, I mean, okay, you got the weird things like the fusion core. So I don't understand what's going on with the fusion core. So in Fallout 4, you can power a power armor suit for 20 minutes, I think. 20 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on your perks. However, Vault 4, the entire vault is powered by a single fusion core. The fusion core that's in the TV show, that was in the suit before it was taken by Thaddeus, that's been powering the suit for days upon days. So it's like, I'm not entirely sure how much power is within a single fusion core. Somehow they have worked out how to get a lot of power into a small object. Like, for how much power is within a fusion core, that is quite a lot. We just wait for Tommy. We seem to have lost him.
Sorry about that. It gave me a blue screen. I don't know why. It hasn't done that in... so sorry about this. All right.
Well, I'm glad I got a backup recording going, because I'm guessing you've lost that first bit.
After recording save... No, I've got it.
Yeah, you save that and export it, and then we'll start again. Not start again, but carry on.
I might not have it. Okay. Yeah, no, so you're saying about... I was talking about Moldava.
Yeah, so all those companies were... Or Moldava was part of a company that was acquired by Vault-Tec, and there were many other companies as well. I believe she said that they were just shut down. So the work that they were doing, that they'd been working on for years and years and years, I think it was like an anti-competition.
Yeah, so they bought
purchase.
Them out and then shut them down.
Yeah, so that they couldn't compete with them. So she's got this beef against Vault-Tec and has probably, over time, learnt more and more, found out more stuff that's going on behind the scenes with Vault-Tec, and that's why she's called, she's got this group going on. I mean, from her perspective, getting Howard into the meetings is good because, he's a well-known face, and if he comes out and says stuff like that, people might listen. Not that it would necessarily make a difference, but people will listen. So Lucy, we left Lucy in Vault 4. She had just been sort of captured, arrested by the Overseer and the security team or whatever. She threw acid in the science guy's face. We see her, she's in that containment little room again, and she's talking with Birdie, and I think his name is Ben, the Overseer, and they show her a holotape of what's been going on in the vault. And do you remember who we saw in that holotape who was recording that message?
Yeah, the mutant sea creature.
Well, yes, but the guy who was recording it is the guy who was in, I think...
Yeah, you're right.
With Howard in the promo video, quote unquote, all those years ago. So that family weren't actors; they were actually scientists. And I think his name was Hawthorne, which is the name of the medical institution above the vault. So it seems that they'd been doing something which created the Gulpers, and then we learn that the Gulpers are the ancestors of the mutated Vault Dwellers. So the one in that video was Ben's great-great-great-grandfather. May his soul rest in peace, I think he said. Which, just as well, she doesn't know that Max and Thaddeus killed the one that she met earlier and couldn't say that. But yeah, so humans gave birth to Gulpers. Gulpers somehow gave birth to humans again. It kind of makes sense. They've got fingers for teeth, but it's also quite hideous. Lucy is then... they take Lucy out to the main, sort of like the square, the main communal area in the vault, and she's in some stocks. And then Ben brings out a blade, a very sharp-looking machete or a sword or a blade or something. And he is going to put her to death. Death by banishment to the surface, where you will most certainly die. But don't worry, we'll give you 2 weeks of milk and apples. But you will most certainly die a horrific, painful death on the surface. Cue a hilarious scene where he's trying to cut the rope with that sword, and it's just not really working. So I do like how they've still managed to play off this vault as just so ridiculous, but in a funny, comedic way. It didn't, they've got dark elements where the surface dwellers are doing this ritual in the previous episode, but the Ben and like his vault dweller, fellow vault dwellers, they're all just outrageously absurd, comical, that kind of stuff. So, it was good. And yeah, so we were discussing, like, I've literally just finished editing episode 6, and I could hear we were talking about whether they were going to escape or whether they were going to be let out onto the surface as a punishment. And yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Well, technically both happen, because Lucy is banished to the surface. Nothing is happening to Maximus because he is, he wasn't part of it until he saw her being dragged off with the hood over her head. So that's when he ran off, stole the fusion core, and then gets into his power armor suit and goes to rescue her. Throws a few security guards in the air, throws a Nuka-Cola fridge, and then Lucy's like, Stop! They're letting me out! They're letting us go! And then awkward scene in the elevator as they're going up.
But the next thing was quite weird, because he kept the power cell, and you're thinking, wait a minute, when you not give that up? But then he does give up, because Lucy's like, you should really give that back, because they're not going to survive. They've only got a few days of...
He really doesn't want to.
Yeah, but it's just so... I think they could have cut that out. Like, yes, I don't know, like, just to save some minutes.
But why? What would you have had them do? Have him keep the fusion core, or have just not taken the suit and left it down there?
Well, no, just have a... Well, that's the thing. So he gave it back. He gave the fusion core back. So, but then the suit after that. So yeah, I would have probably just had like some sort of line saying, "Well, it was good to get back in the old gal, but it's the right thing to give back the fusion core." Something like that.
I think no. But here's the thing, right? He still doesn't. He didn't give it back because he agreed with Lucy. He gave it back because Lucy told him to. So he wouldn't have said anything like that. And he was probably grumpy the whole way they were going, walking to find the head. So, and here's the thing. Like, I don't understand why the fusion core was powering the vault. Like, it's such... Like, how can this one fusion core be powering an entire vault or a power armor suit? Like, you'd have one fusion core for a power armor suit and 20 for a vault. Or, as I've seen in the games, like, there would be other power generators. So, like, the vaults, they usually have some kind of reactor as opposed to a fusion core. So, I don't know why this one is so different. Obviously, other than storytelling and
exactly
plot points. It's just... And I'm sure they even showed us the fusion reactor or something. But
yeah, it was right next to the fusion core.
Yeah, it was behind it, wasn't it? And behind the console. Look, I could see how a fusion core would be used as the auxiliary power, but when he took it out and then they went to auxiliary power, yeah, there's just... It's just a bit strange. But what would you have if you were Maximus? Would you have taken the fusion core, or would you have returned it and lost access to your power armor suit?
I would probably return it. It's hard because if you're playing the game, I would probably return it. But in real life, you might think, actually...
Here's the difference, though. In the video game, like, I've currently got 75 fusion cores, so I don't have to take it. But in the TV show, they're a lot more rare.
Yeah.
So you've got one, or you don't have one. The other thing we skipped over, actually, is Max reveals to Lucy who he is.
Oh, yeah.
They have that scene in the in that sort of entry area where she invites him to live in Vault 33 with her. She's telling him, ironically, how safe it is inside that vault, where it is not safe there at all, really. That's when he decides that's the time to come clean. And she forgives him. I don't know if she understood. She doesn't know enough of what he's gone through to kind of really understand what he's gone through. But I think she might be disappointed that, that he had lied to her, but maybe it wasn't the most important thing at that time. I don't know, but yeah, she decides nope, that's fine. I'll let you off this one.
Just trying to think of the next thing that happened after that. I
think
it goes go back into the vault. It's Vault 33 where oh good man. Well, the overseer has decided. Well, no, before that actually, those raiders, the raider problem that we've been discussing for the last few episodes got resolved.
Well, yes, maybe we said yeah. So I'm just looking at the synopsis on Wikipedia, and it says that some of them have died. It doesn't say they've all died.
It looked like they're all died because they're all in that little prison bit. But yeah, who knows? But someone
hang on. So it wasn't raiders that died,
wasn't
right?
It?
So what happened is the prisoners are hungry and they are taking the food, and they're being slightly less rebellious. They're being less savage. People are dying, but it was the vault dwellers. It wasn't the raiders that died. It was some vault dwellers.
Why would they want to do that? Like, why would someone rather than killing people that have come and tried to kill you, kill your own people?
Well, actually, I'll tell you what. I read it as someone put rat poison in the food, and the food went to the wrong people. It went to the vault dwellers instead of the prisoners. But now I'm wondering if it did go to the prisoners, but the prisoners were still wearing the vault suits that they were pretending to be from Vault 32.
Yes.
So maybe there weren't any vault dwellers that died. It was actually just the prisoners. Because obviously later on, Steph said something to Norman, and she was like, "Oh, shame about the prisoners." And I was thinking, but it wasn't prisoners that died; it was the vault dwellers. So she's obviously clearly implicated herself in that.
Well, I just assumed it was the raiders, the prisoners. That
I'm sure they were wearing vault suits. That's what made me think it was vault dwellers. But yeah, but maybe they were just wearing the vault suits from the other vault. So
maybe they got told to wear a vault suit, so you need to put this on. But yeah, but then straight after that, the overseer, she decides that now it's the time that you're all going to be separated up and going into your own little vaults. Vault 33.
Yes, they've been relocating.
And it turns, it seems like the people that were originally coming from Vault 31 would be going into Vault 32. Or, yeah. So the...
not necessarily. It's neither. It's a bit more random. Steph and Betty are the only people currently in the vault who came from 31. So Betty's staying as overseer for 33, and then Steph is going as overseer for 32.
Yes.
Because when Norm was going through the people who've been transferred, I think it was Betty, then Hank, and then Steph. I think that's the only people who have come over.
But then we find out by I forgot his name.
Norm?
Yeah, Norm. That he manages to hack into the Betty's console in the overseer's office. And it was quite funny because he actually used the hacking. I'm not sure.
Well, it was, and I think it was good. They handled it really well. So,
but I'm not sure which. I'm not sure which version of the game was it. Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas version of it.
It's much of a much, really, from what we saw. He went into the computer. He got to the login screen where you would normally put in, you type in a password. And I think they covered this in the previous episode. Like, he has worked in all of the departments, so he's probably got some IT knowledge, so he knows how to troubleshoot these terminals. So he was just like / admin at Vault 33, and he was in the terminal, and then that is what launches the quote-unquote hacking screen that we see in the video game. Because obviously, showing all of the passwords is a terrible way to secure your terminals, but if it's a back door into the terminal, it makes a lot more sense in the world, in the universe. So he worked out what it was quite quickly. It was like his first or second guess, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I looked at it and I was like, it's got to be that one. I can't remember the actual word. But...
yeah, it was a very obvious word, wasn't it? It was like controlled or something like that.
Yeah, and he managed...
So he messages the overseer of 31, impersonating Betty, pretending everything's going bad.
Yeah, and he's like, you must come here now. So he goes over to Vault 31, and we see...
At the end of the episode, we see him entering the vault, and he hears something down the corridor. So the one person we've not spoken about, I think, is Thaddeus. So we've not seen Thaddeus for a few episodes at this point, have we? It was like episode 4, 4 or 5, I think.
So yeah, he basically needs... He's still got the head, and his foot is all mushed up, and he's like, oh god. And for some reason, he's tuned into a radio. I'm not sure why, but he's tuned into a radio. He's got...
What do you mean you don't know why? Do you not listen to the radio when you play Fallout?
I do.
Well, why do you listen to the radio?
For entertainment.
Right, so he needed entertainment, so he put the radio on.
Well, yeah, but the radio, the guy on the radio was saying, this is where I am, but... or something like that. He was kind of being like quite personal and saying, if you come to me, I've got nothing to give you. So I was thinking,
and actually, no. The other thing is he needed the radio station to contact the Brotherhood. He needed to transmit a signal, so he's probably trying to pinpoint the radio by the signal strength.
At first, I was thinking, is he trying to locate the guy on the radio? But yeah, no, he's trying to find an actual proper radio signal,
a transmitter.
Yes. But before that, he knows that his foot is gone, and he needs to find a medic.
Well, he doesn't know that he needs to find a medic. He's just walking along, and we come across the chicken fucker.
Yes,
he's about to shoot himself in the head, and then he hears the radio and sees him limping along.
Yeah, and he says, "I can fix you. No problem."
Yeah, and do you know something? In episode 2, I think, when Lucy and Dr. Vilsig start walking through town with his horrifically mangled foot, he shouts over to him, "I can fix that for you." And I didn't believe him. He's just a snake oil salesman. He can't fix feet other than like robotics or anything. But anyway, as we shall soon see, as he invites Thaddeus into his little doctor's office, he has a whole case of remedies and potions, and he manages to concoct something. He's got a little portable chem station, but he manages to concoct something that will taste disgusting, but will heal that foot. And we see in very real time the bones in his feet growing back together, the toe curling back the right way and reattaching. And almost immediately, Thaddeus is right back to normal. So he wasn't lying. He's a good chem creator, doctor, whatever you want to call him.
What did he give him? Did he give him like a fusion core or some sort of new core?
Oh no, yes. So he paid for it with the fusion core,
because that was the only thing he had on him that was worth any value.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Take this.
Which confirms the other thing. The Brotherhood don't give caps to anyone really. And actually, I've just been playing Fallout 4 yesterday, I think, or maybe this morning. And I went to the quartermaster in the Brotherhood of Steel in the Pridwin. I just had that whole conversation where the Brotherhood of Steel members have to purchase their own guns and ammo. It's not provided for them. So it does kind of fit that the Brotherhood of Steel aren't just going to give 30 caps to everyone on their mission. They're just going to tell them to do what they need to do.
So Thaddeus manages to contact the Brotherhood of Steel and get them to come, and he manages to ask some guy if he can use his station, his frequency station or transmitter. But then he set booby traps all around the area of his little compound. And Lucy and Maximus eventually turn up. Thaddeus sets off one of the booby traps.
First Thaddeus tries to shoot them, and he shot them 8 times and hit them 0. So I think he was playing VATS with like luck 0. And then as he steps back, he sets off a crossbow and gets shot in the neck.
And that makes him into, we quickly realise, hold a minute, you should be dead. Well, I was first thinking, okay, an arrow through the neck. I suppose if it's a clean shot and it's gone straight through the neck, the danger you would have is he's not dead. And they were saying not to pull it out, but if that was me in that situation, I would pull it out because there's probably more chance of it getting really badly infected your neck. So it would have to come out anyway.
Well, it would, but you'd normally let a professional do that. Obviously, they don't have professionals. Yeah, so it's like when he had his foot fixed, you're like, oh, okay, it's just some really good healing potion. And supposedly there is a potion in Fallout 76 which can do something like that. It's like a super stim pack. It's got a particular name. It's like Healer of Life or something like that. But so it's like that's something that would obviously happen for that one instance. But now it's been, we don't know how many hours later, he's travelled a bit more. He's been waiting for the Brotherhood of Steel to arrive, and they have just about got there. It's pretty clear that he's turning into a ghoul.
Well, I didn't know until his neck, he pulled it out of his neck and his neck mended. And I was like, oh, he's a ghoul. And then Maximus was like, you've become a ghoul. And to be fair to Lucy and Maximus, they're like, okay, you better get a head start and run, otherwise they're going to kill you.
Yeah, because the Brotherhood of Steel, they are...
If that was me, and I was in Maximus' position, I probably would have just shot him in the head, because that's
It wouldn't have worked. Oh no, it would work. That's the one place you can... Yeah, that...
I would have shot him, because that's my duty to the Brotherhood. But they had to run as well, though, because they didn't want to get caught up with the Brotherhood. Well, no, because... he did.
He goes back.
Lucy...
So what they do...
Yeah.
He sends Lucy off with the real head, and he picks up a random head and goes back to the Brotherhood with that.
And that never worked for me. That whole scene just didn't work, because he goes back, and I'm thinking, how do you think you're going to get out of this situation? You obviously...
Yeah, I had the exact same thing, and so he goes back. Obviously, we're in episode 8 now, but that's fine. So he goes back, he presents the head at the foot of the Elders' staircase, because they've taken... So the Brotherhood of Steel, at this point, they have taken over the small town of Philly, which is where the first... where that big fight happened.
Yeah, with Howard the Ghoul and Maximus and Lucy. And
so he presents the head, and then they check the head, and it's not there. And then he's like, they're about to execute him, and he's like, no, I can take you to the head, And I'm like, is that all your plan was just to take the head, but then take them there? I'm not really sure. Other than to give Lucy a head start, like that's the only real thing I could think of, was that he didn't have a plan. He was just buying her time. Yeah,
exactly. But I think if that was in the game, I think they would have killed him. They wouldn't be like, they'd be like, you failed in your mission and you've been lying to us, and then they bring up about night.
I don't know how he managed to take them to him. How was he able to take them to where Lucy was going?
Well, she might have told him. Like, she might have shared the location on where, because it was marked on her Pip-Boy.
But then they could have just got that information from him and killed him anyway. Like,
exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
Some part of that storyline doesn't quite add up.
Yeah, cause he just, like, the Elders just like, it's the person who lost their who got injured with his foot begs the Elder not to kill Maximus, and
then tells him that he he's the one who injured his foot.
So I was right. I was right then. And you was right.
We were both right. You guessed correctly, and I guessed that it definitely wasn't Maximus.
Yeah.
But then he talks about, he takes him away. The elder takes him away, and then he asks what happened to Titus.
Yes, Knight Titus.
And this is a point, I think, if they had asked about Titus in front of everyone, and even if he had said the same things, I think there might have been a bit more, like the execution scene might not have happened.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what happened with Knight Titus, the way he died, it wasn't Maximus's fault. Apart from not applying him as stim pack.
Yeah, exactly. He could have.
But it was Knight Titus's fault for jumping out, going into that cave, being attacked by the bear. That was his fault. And like I said, Maximus could have applied the stim pack and it wasn't enough to save him. Oh no, what a shame. And that would have been a perfectly plausible storyline. And it's kind of almost how it went in the end anyway, because he said, well, he ran away, he died running. And the elder understood what he meant by that. He understood that he was a coward, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he turns around and says, you and I can rebuild the Brotherhood. We'll make it better or something. You took power by force, not... So, yeah, he said there's like people learn that you can take power by... You can be given power or you can take it by force. And you learnt the latter, which is kind of true.
So he sees him as the next generation of the Brotherhood, and he's asking him to lead.
Yeah. Now, is this elder? Is he like Count Dooku? Is he like the evil guy with the sparkly hands, or is he more like like? It's difficult to read. Like, what does he want? Is he trying to make the Brotherhood of Steel good? Is he trying to make them worse, like more evil?
I suppose if you look at it, he's looking for the next breed of people to take on the mountain of the group and
well, he's
mold
not
them
into
what
he's not the big
pretty much
cheese,
desires.
I think. He's just the most senior person present.
No,
So I don't think he's actually leading the entire Brotherhood of Steel. In fact, I get the impression that he almost wants Maximus to help him take over the Brotherhood of Steel, like do a little civil war or a mutiny or something.
exactly. Yeah, he's trying to. Well,
but he doesn't seem to be like the sort of person I would want the Brotherhood of Steel to be run by.
I think that there's like different kinds of like factions of the Brotherhood of Steel, and they have one elder in each like faction, because they're all scattered throughout the wasteland. But I'm not sure if there's one core person in charge. It's mainly you would have one person in charge of this whole group of people. So in terms of like getting Maximus to take on the mountain of being number one of the Brotherhood of Steel is impossible because they're all spread out throughout the wasteland.
In Fallout 4, you deal with Elder Maxon. He is the supreme commander of the East Coast chapter.
Right.
So
he's like, is he the guy that's on the balloon?
Yeah, on the Pridwin, yeah. So
there you go then. So it kind of depends on which game, I suppose, because I'm kind of thinking of like Fallout New Vegas, maybe like a little bit of Fallout 3 where...
Well, but what we've got here is the Pridwin from Fallout 4. Like, this isn't a different ship, this is the Pridwin.
Right.
And we're 10 years in the future from Fallout 4.
Yes.
So Elder Maxon might be on the Pridwin, or he's been succeeded.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. But in any case, he tells them where the head is and where to go somehow, like you say. But before all that, we should really talk about what was inside Vault 31.
Yes.
The thing is, you haven't played Fallout New Vegas, have you?
I haven't.
So that alien is actually it's DLC in the game.
The alien?
Yes.
The Robo-Brain?
Yeah, well, they're like...
It's a Robo-Brain.
It's a Robo-Brain, but...
They're in Fallout 4.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well,
they're common in Fallout, yeah. There's a whole vault full of Robo-Brains in Fallout 4.
I don't think that's the same...
It's the same technology, even if it is a different body.
Exactly. But this they exactly look like the ones from Fallout New Vegas in the DLC, where you go to like this different, I don't even know what it is, like a different planet or different part of the wasteland, and they got like these energy weapons, and they got these little, they have these little robot minions that they can control, and you got to take out, and basically people, and they have had their brains into these little, I don't even know what to call it, like some sort of structural entity inside this little, kind of like it looks like a robot, kind of looks like an alien object, but they're quite well, we later find out that the people in Vault 31 have been frozen for 200 years.
Yeah, so these are the management people from Vault-Tec.
Yes, because when we go back to Howard, we see that.
Yeah, so let's go back to Howard, and when he is following his wife into Vault-Tec.
Yes, because the main thing to take away is that he manages to go inside, have a little cup of tea, and he.
Well, okay. So actually, before we even go inside, that person who comes and like talks to him in the car.
Oh, so yeah, that's
Bud's something.
Yeah.
So he is that robot. So he is Bud, and he's going on about this whole thing about Buds. It turns out that Buds is the cryopods that eventually we see in that vault. So first we see him, and then he goes in and he's listening.
Yes, and we actually get the line.
Yeah, so it's all very interesting because two incredibly important things happen at the same time. Because what's going on is, because the radio range of the hearing device isn't very large, Howard has gone into his wife's office. Someone in there spots him. And he's like, oh, so-and-so is here. He's a big fan. This guy who keeps calling. In one of the previous episodes, there was a guy who kept ringing the house wanting to talk to them. And it was this new guy that worked with his wife. Big fan of Cooper Howard. And while he sat there, this lady's like, oh, this guy really wants to see you as you're here. Do you mind if I bring him? And he's like, I can't really say no. I'm sneaking around, but I need a valid excuse to be here. Yeah, sure. Let bring him in. I'll see him. Anyway, he starts listening in. Vault-Tec is talking to the guy from West Tech, the guy from Robco, Mr. House, and basically all of the big companies that's making everything from Pit Boys to the Power Armor to other things that we interact with or don't interact with in the video games. So all of these big corporate companies, they're all together having this secret meeting. Vault-Tec are offering their vaults to be experiments. And we, obviously, if you played the games, you know this is what goes on in a vault, and you hear them say things. They specifically mentioned some of the vaults that you have already encountered, and maybe one or two that we might encounter in the future. And then Howard is like, go on, Barbara, you set them straight. They're going insane. Tell them what to do. And what does she say?
She says pretty much that we can actually start this activity by dropping the bomb ourselves.
Yeah, we can guarantee profit by dropping the bombs ourselves.
Yeah.
And then he's just like having that,
whoa,
like, you got like tinnitus in your head, all that kind of, it's just like this moment of just absolute shock. And then what happens? Betty introduces Hank McClane.
Yes.
So we find out that Hank and Betty and Vault 31 are all they're not Vault dwellers. They are pre-war Vault-Tec executives.
Yes. And I think the driving factor of the whole thing is that they're doing this because at the moment there is currently wars going on, and if they win the war, there's no guarantee that there could be another war with another faction. But if we then blow up everything, we could start over and we would control.
That was Hank's thing later on.
Well, yes. Well, she was talking about that though in her speech.
She? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know they were talking about. So the guy, I don't know what his name was, but maybe that was Buds. So Buds was talking. He was talking about how the instead of fighting everyone and trying to win the war, they just wait it out. They just build the vaults and just wait for it.
Exactly. And they set the bomb off, and then they would be the ones in control. And then when it comes to...
Yeah, and they would know when to send everyone to the vaults. It wouldn't be a surprise to them.
Yeah, and when they eventually get the okay to go back up to the surface, they'll be ahead of everyone on the surface because they have all the technology and the experience and the knowledge, and they would be number one.
So this would be a good point to just bring in something that happened in episode 1 in the very first scene. So do you remember Cooper Howard is doing that rodeo show at the party? And the two dads who are taking the pictures and they're talking and they're like, why is he doing this? And the other guy goes, alimony. And that's obviously the American word for this guy has had a divorce and needs to pay child support. So what's happening at Vault-Tec when he's listening in, that's probably happening months, if not years, before when we saw him at that party, because there's got to be enough time for all of these companies to do their really evil stuff, and then get into the vaults and then do what they do.
Yeah.
So at the point that the first time we see Cooper Howard, when he's with his horse doing that whole thing, he's not with Barbara anymore. They're divorced. They're living separately. He's got joint custody of the child, I imagine, and we still don't know what's happened to the daughter.
Oh, I don't want to jump too far ahead.
No.
Let's jump into way too far ahead. But he does mention the word family at some point near the end.
But we don't know what's happened to his daughter at this point.
Unless she's a ghoul as well.
But the assumption is, even if his daughter did get into a vault, he wasn't allowed in. So what I'm expecting is that he did his sort of dad duty using the horse, absolutely legged it to the vault that he knew his wife was going to be in.
Yeah.
Presumably, his wife was going to be in Vault 31, as would he and his daughter, maybe?
As they would be in the management executive vault. But I suppose we should talk about where... So Lucy manages to meet Modeva, and Modeva actually tells her about his father and about he's not the person you think he is. We should
probably say it's Moldova.
Moldova, sorry.
We're going to say it a lot this episode, so we should try and get it.
Moldova. But she pretty much does a good job of saying your dad's a complete arsehole. And this brings up one of the statements that Maximus said in the last few episodes, where he said that the bombs dropped when he was a child, and me and you were thinking, well, that's not right, because that happened 200 years ago. They must be mistaken. The Brotherhood must be teaching them the wrong thing. But it turns out that Hank, his Lucy's wife, mum, sorry, is it Rosie or Elizabeth? Discovered that there's water. There's fresh water, purified water coming through into the vault somehow. Well, she somehow detects it using, and she decides to leave the vault and see if she can start the reforming of a new republic or a new revitalization of the wasteland. But then
I think there was already people in Shady Sands.
Yes.
And what happened is she took Norman and Lucy with her to Shady Sands. So the flashbacks that Lucy had of her mum in the first episode aren't actually, they're not in the vault.
No, they're in Shady Sands.
They're in Shady Sands. And in the first episode, it's a memory, so you don't question why you can't see that much of it, because obviously memories can be distorted and you don't remember everything that goes on. But we see more of the memory in this. Shady Sands was a quite developed town, 34,000 people we saw in a previous episode, and it had things like a working tram line.
Well, it's actually comes from the first two games.
Yes, it does.
So, and they established that it's an NCR base of operation in terms of...
Yeah, and we did see that in the previous episode, because
the flag,
the NCR flag, and that was when they first used the Fallout theme. It didn't play until she found that flag.
Yeah, but it turns out that Hank decided that
It's in jealousy.
Jealousy and the fact, well, maybe he just got scared or just like, no, it's not the right time.
Didn't want people to know the truth.
Didn't want people
hiding. So he bombed Shady Sands.
Yeah, which is, how would they do that? Like, would they have an extra bomb laying around? How does that work at this point where everything's been totally destroyed and it's 200 years later? Well, let's say 180 years later then.
Yeah.
The technology must be that old. How would you keep it functional for that long? And I'm not so sure.
Well, let me think about all those mini nukes and 10mm ammo that works. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, what did he use? How did he use it?
It must have come from a missile or some sort of plane.
It's quite large, and he's not going to be very close to it. You think about the unexploded bombs in Fallout 3 and New Vegas that you can set off, but you'd have to move it to Shady Sands.
Yeah, move it or drop it on. It is possible.
But anyway, it is not for us to ask how, it is for us to believe that it happened. So, unfortunately, the lovely...
But I thought that was quite... I thought it was quite cool, though. Like, I was like, okay, what Maximus was saying earlier does now make sense.
Yes. Yeah.
And we just assumed that they were talking about the bombs 200 years ago. But yeah, there was another bomb that was set off by Hank. And yeah, he's completely lied about his wife to his daughter. And the fact that she's actually present at this conversation as well, the mother.
Yeah, I mean...
Which is weird. I don't know why...
obviously, she survived the blast and then became...
a ghoul.
Ghoulified from the radiation. Now, here's the bit I didn't quite understand. Like, why is she there?
Yes. I don't know.
Why? And still, what? So, what's the deal with Moldava? So, why is Moldava there? How did she get there? Was she cryogenically stored and released, or is she 200 years old? And if she's 200 years old, how is she doing that? And why does she seem to have a relationship with Rose? Because either as a friend or as an ex-lover, she was holding, going right to the end of the episode, when they were, when she was dying, right, in that last scene, she took her hand and she was holding her hand and saying, we've done it, we've done it, we've done it. Where did Moldava come from? They never answered that question, did they? Or did I miss it?
No, they didn't. It's the only way that she could have made it is if she was in one of the pods.
Yeah, which I don't think she would be, given that she's like in opposition.
But the thing is, it kind of indicates that she was part of one of the pods, and like Rose decided to leave the vault. But then that doesn't make sense either, because if she left the vault, she would have been turned into a ghoul as well in the blast, unless she wasn't at Shady Sands at the time. I don't know. Maybe she meant. The thing is, they could have probably added that in, but then it would have took
more time
to
slow it down.
Yeah.
And the problem is, it's not something that I don't know if they'll really address it in the second series, because she's not going to be there for the second series. So it's a bit, in a sense, I'm a bit disappointed, because it's like there's quite a big question about who Moldava is and why she's so important.
Yeah.
And it's just been left out, and we're probably never going to see it.
But so there was a massive fight to try and...
Yep, so the Brotherhood of Steel, they launch an assault on the NCR. And actually, let's talk about the NCR for a bit. So a few things about the NCR. And actually, going back to episode 1, here's a question I had. Moldava is part of the New Californian Republic. I've not played New Vegas. The New Californian Republic, are they raiders?
No.
There might be a rebellious group, but they're just... Yeah, are they like normal people with civilians and soldiers and stuff like that?
Yes, but they have...
So when Moldava went into the vault, why did she have raiders with her?
Well, the thing is, the NCR, what they were saying is the NCR, because of Shady Sands exploded with the bomb, this evolved. Those people, yes, they had NCR flag,
but they're not actually the NCR.
They're not the NCR.
Okay.
They are people that probably might have been NCR before, or people who...
People far enough away from the blast and they've just congregated around. And
believe in what she's trying to accomplish.
But they're not even dressed. They're not even dressed correctly for the NCR.
Well, I could. Here's the thing, though. Like, people talk about clothing for factions and all that sort of stuff, but it's not like clothing was readily available. People were just going to wear what they're going to wear. And actually, we did mention at the beginning of episode 7, we met someone wearing the courier's get up. With the hats and the face shield and the long coat. And I did see some concourse Discord on the internet where people were upset that a non-courier was wearing those clothing. But at the end of the day, if you find clothes in the wastelands, you're going to take it home, and if it's useful, you're going to wear it. Likewise, it's going to be difficult to make and find and make clothing for all of your people to have a uniform. It's not like it's so readily available, so it should be normal that people might have half a uniform as opposed to everyone looks the same.
I suppose you could look at it and think those people are NCR.
Yeah, I think they are, even though it's not.
But they're not. They're not the powerhouse as what they were before.
No. It's just like a small rebellion, if that. It's just a small outpost, really.
And like you say, because in the first episode I can't see the NCR behaving like that. I can see, there's another group called Legion, Caesar's Legion, and they are reenacting like the Romans, and they're quite very barbarian kind of people. They just hang people. They give crucifixions and stuff. But in the first episode, we see the guy like they're slaughtering people, like killing.
Yeah, just like raiders.
So
she must have gone out and hired raiders.
Yeah,
but that doesn't make sense either. Because are they going to go through the whole wearing the vault and the marriage sort of? I don't really know. That's one of the small things that kind of doesn't sit quite right with me. The type of people she has in the NCR camp at the end, and the fact that she doesn't go back to rescue them. Not that she would be able to necessarily get into a vault to rescue them, but the fact that she's just left them there. And at the end, she doesn't actually seem like that bad of a person either to go in, murder innocent people just to get Hank. Like, there's some small bits that don't quite sit right. They built her up as a big baddie. Actually, she's not that big of a baddie, but she's done these terrible, heinous things actually anyway, or she has instigated them into action. So, not really sure.
Well, what should have happened is that when she went into the vault, they had those tranquilizer darts that got Hank.
Yeah, that would have been better.
And then she should have. I know, like, suppliers though, like, there's not going to be a lot of them around. But if she could, like, try and not to kill anyone, just shoot them with tranquilizer darts and put them to sleep.
Or take Hank immediately as soon as they open the doors to Vault 32, instead of going through the whole charade and then having to kill everyone. So, as bad as the NCR may or may not be, as bad as Moldova may or may not be,
hold on. Let's also say this then. Let's also say this before we go off on a. They had Sandy Beach completely bombed and destroyed. They might actually have a chip on their shoulder, some of them, and are really angry on what's happened with their town and just don't care at this point, and they want to get revenge and get their objective.
It's a lawless society. It's not like people are going to get punished by any other means.
So yeah, but the thing is, there was something like the raiders were quite young. I don't know how many of people were affected by Sandy Beach's destruction and the NCR, but yeah. But anyway, yeah, carry on what I was going to say.
Yeah, so as bad as they may or may not seem to be, I really dislike the Brotherhood of Steel. I actually dislike the Brotherhood of Steel. The way they went into the NCR camp and they were just murdering what, to me, looked like civilians.
But they were fighting back.
Yes, they were fighting back, but the Brotherhood of Steel have just come up in force where they live. Of course they're going to fight back.
But the thing is, remember that they're all about technology and pre-war tech. So if you
that's not that. It's not. They don't have total independent right to all technology that exists. In fact, today, so at the moment, like I said before, I don't know that much about the Brotherhood of Steel. I didn't play their quest line. So at the moment in Fallout 4, I'm playing their quest line. I just today started it, and he was talking about the technology that the Institute have and how it's a disgrace and blah 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 and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, really? Like that's not up to you to decide.
Well, that's
You're no, like the Brotherhood of Steel are no better than the Institute, really. The Institute are pretty bad, don't get me wrong. Like if they stop doing one or two things, they could be a force for good in the Commonwealth. But because they kidnap people and replace them with synths and everything, they are just as evil. But the Brotherhood of Steel don't have an inherent right to go in and take all technology. But who gave them that power? They gave it to themselves.
that's the...
If someone else has power, doesn't mean that they have to go in and take it. So the fact that they are coming in to take this device that was inside the head, and I suppose at this point we should, the device that was in the head is actually cold fusion, which is that unlimited power source. The NCR could have been a good faction, and they could have done something good with it. In fact, I think that's what Moldova did do. She powered an entire pre-war town from this tiny little thing. She managed to provide power. She didn't do anything bad other than all the bad stuff that she did leading up to it. So the fact that the Brotherhood of Steel came in and brutally murdered people. I'm not saying they killed them in war. I'm saying they murdered people. They did that thing where they crushed with their power armor heads. They hacked people in half. They shot them. I really hate the Brotherhood of Steel. At that point, I am not gunning for the Brotherhood of Steel. Now, if Maximus is going to do something in Season 2 where he kind of builds a new Brotherhood of Steel that's better than this current Brotherhood of Steel, I'm not saying I won't follow that, but at the moment, this Brotherhood of Steel, I just cannot abide. I just cannot Brotherhood of Steel, they are inherently racist. They will kill on sight ghouls, super mutants, and synths, and anything else that is sentient, intelligent, and alive.
But would you not want that? Let's say in real life. So in real life, a mutant is chasing you. A ghoul is chasing you. Oh look, there's the Brotherhood.
No, but they're not killing because there is a danger. They're killing because they want to. So
they want to exterminate them.
Yeah, in Fallout 4, there is a super mutant called Virgil. He is a highly intelligent super mutant. He is not a danger. He's not dangerous. He's just a super mutant. They would kill him without even questioning. But why?
Because their philosophy is that anything that's pre-war, anything that was the normal way before the war, is how it should be now.
Yeah, but do you know what that sounds like?
They see the future as the past before the war.
Right, but the thing is, the Brotherhood of Steel, they sound awfully like Nazis.
Yeah.
And that's probably what they've been influenced by, whatever, when they were designed by the game developers. That's probably what they used as an influence.
I disagree, because if you look at the Caesar's Legion, they're more Nazis than Brotherhood.
Well, you can have two companies, you can have two different factions that are both slightly Nazi-ish. It's basically what I'm saying is they're very fascist.
No, Caesar Legion, the Caesar, they like really are Nazis.
I'm not saying there's not someone who's worse than them. I'm just saying that that's what the Brotherhood of Steel are.
Well,
because they are. They are, though. They are.
In a way, yes, but you have to think.
In every way, yes.
You have to think that the way they're thinking about it is someone must have come up with the good idea initially, thinking, okay.
But that's not a good defense. That's not a good defense.
Hold on.
But it's not.
Hold on. To clean up the wasteland, and to make it safe for people like us, we could put in a philosophy where you would have to seek out pre-war tech and destroy anything that is not a normal entity. So like super mutants and ghouls did not exist pre the bombs.
Well, ghouls did.
So they must be
Super mutants did.
what before the bombs went off?
Yeah,
They didn't.
they did. As did Deathclaws. Deathclaws, super mutants, and ghouls were all created by. Deathclaws and super mutants were created by the American military, and what was the other one I didn't mention?
Yeah. Actually, you're right.
And ghouls were discovered, I guess, by someone else. All of them existed pre-war. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but
Anyway, they got to be eradicated.
no, they don't. But even with no, they don't. But even if that was true, you don't have to eradicate every single one without you don't kill them without
a reason.
You don't kill them indiscriminately or whatever, or discriminatively or something. There's a phrase there I can't quite get out, but basically you're describing ethnic cleansing,
exactly,
which happened in the real world.
Yes,
and that is obviously what they're trying. That's a likeliness that they're trying to bring into the games, and they're trying to do something with it. There's ghouls in the games who are friendly people. There are synths in the game who the Brotherhood still would kill on sight, but there are synths who are friendly and good people. And there are super mutants who are friendly and, relatively speaking, good people. So you can't just go in and kill indiscriminately. So do you think the Brotherhood of Steel were in the right to go in and try and take this technology? Or, what side of that fight were you on? Were you on any side at all? Were you just enjoying it? Or were you rooting for one side over the other?
I wasn't rooting for either side.
Okay. Because up until that point, I wasn't enjoying this faction of Brotherhood of Steel. It's the only experience I have is Fallout 4 and the early missions, because I did a different faction. And as I go in Fallout 4, as I'm going about the Pridwin, I can hear characters saying phrases that I don't really like things like I would like. I think there's a line that's like, I would take every mutie, synth, and ghoul and shoot them into the sun, or something like that. And every time I hear it, I'm just like, I don't care for it, and I don't like that I'm currently aligning myself to that faction. But like I said, I really need to know what the Brotherhood of Steel is like, and I feel like Fallout 4 might not be the best game to learn. So I think my goal before Season 2 is to try and play Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, try and get a bit more understanding of the Fallout universe. So, what else is going on?
There's not really a lot to talk about in terms of the Ghoul, Howard, because we pretty much get a quick scene where we establish how he gets to the Moldava by he finds out that the courier who originally asked for the scientists from the Enclave to be transported to Moldava, and it turns out that it was like this farmer and his son and his brother, the son's brother as well.
Yeah, the brother was part of something. He was part of something, and the younger brother got involved
as well. Yeah, and he pretty much gave the information, but then Howard was a bit worried about.
Wasn't worried. He taunts him into.
Well, no,
but he basically says, right, if you let me walk out here now, you're going to come kill me in 20 years' time, aren't you?
Yeah.
And the kid's like, yeah, probably. He doesn't say that in as many words, but you can tell that's what he's going to do. So he shoots him dead. Poor guy's lost both of his kids in one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
After making out that he was eating his daughter. So between that and we forgot to mention that Thaddeus stuffed dog meat into a icebox.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the ghoul finds dog meat, and obviously dog meat has a good nose on her, so she can find the head. And this is amidst the whole thing about no dogs in the vault. And suddenly the ghoul is a lot more receptive to having a dog about him again after 200 years. So I think what happens is we see him mid-fight. The Brotherhood of Steel are in the building. Do you remember you mentioned the guy from West Tech came to speak to pre-war Howard after he was filming the advert, and they were talking about the T-45 armor and how he said there was a fault with the suit and many lives were lost because of that fault. Fortunately for the Ghoul, the T-60 series still have the same fault. So he managed to take out, 4 people with power armor just on his own with no lights?
Yeah. It's a bit silly. You would have to get precisely that. And the people moving around as well.
Well, someone theorizes that he's either got FATS or the bloody mess perk or something like that. So, you know.
Okay. Yeah. He can see in the dark pretty well or something. Who knows? Yeah. But I thought that was quite cool though, even if it's a bit ridiculous. Like he's going around shooting people in the dark, and it was quite cool to see in slow mo as well. But yeah, he at the end he goes and manages to catch up with Lucy, and he even tells Lucy, "Oh, I met your dad like 200 years ago in Voltec." Yeah, he starts like asking questions like, "What's happened to my family then? What do you know where I can find my family? I'll let you out if you tell me, you know, about your about my family."
Because he knows who Hank McLean is, and he knows who the Ghoul is.
I'm just trying to remember. How does he get out of the cage?
Max. So I think Max arrives before him. Lucy has just found out everything. She is too stunned to speak.
Oh yeah,
and Hank manages. He speaks to
Maximus.
Max, and he's like, "Oh, I'm her dad. Let me out." So he's like, "Okay, yeah, sure. That you're who we're here to see."
Yeah.
Doesn't know what's going on, so just shoots a lock and lets him out.
And he manages to get the power armor on.
Yes, whilst no one's looking, everyone's distracted. He gets in the power armor suit,
which kind of looked weird because he didn't have the helmet on or anything. It was just him with his face.
Yeah, but you know that's a common way people play the game. You know, you want to see your character's head, you take the helmet off.
But yeah, so Moldava gets shot.
She's stabbed. She's got a stab wound. She's got like she pulled something
that's
out.
Right,
I think
yeah.
like a bit of metal or shrapnel or something. So basically, no one survived that fight, but Moldava did. She had already forced Hank to put in the code.
That's right, yeah.
And then something I found out later on is that code is the release date of the very first Fallout game, the 10th of October, 1997.
There you go. That's a bit of an Easter egg.
A bit of an Easter egg. I mean, we had the whole water chip thing, which hasn't been resolved in this series, which is...
Yeah, that's a good point. That never got really talked about, did it, again?
Nope. Nada. Nor, you know, how did they clean up Vault 32? Is it all washed away? Is it new devices? I don't know. That's who in fact did it. Like, none of this has been answered. But, you know, it's all going ahead. So Hank and Maximus have a very quick fight where Maximus is hit by a guy in power armor and knocked basically unconscious. I'm not going to lie. I thought he was dead, to be honest.
I think he should have died. Let me ask you one question though, which I saw online. You seen the recent Star Wars films?
Yes, we did a podcast on that.
Okay, yeah, of course. Do you think that Lucy and Maximus kind of resemble Finn and Rey in the Star Wars films? Do you think that Maximus and Lucy actually do a better job of what they were trying to do in those Star Wars films?
What were they trying to do in the Star Wars films?
What exactly? What we've seen in the Fallouts, having like characters that have flaws and keep secrets, and then they start.
Well, Lucy hasn't kept a secret. She's been very open.
Well, Maximus has kept secrets, but then, well, we can see that they have starting to have some sort of relationship build.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, you kind of it kind of just felt in the Star Wars films like it was kind of like it just didn't go anywhere. But in this, it seems like something is definitely growing between them, because, like you say, like in episode 7, he could have just kept that power.
Yeah, he could have kept the power up, the fusion core, the power armor,
the fusion core. But then Lucy said, "No, give it back. It's the right thing to do," and you know, he did it. So there's something definitely in place. But yeah, I think.
But will it continue? Because she's going to go off with the Ghoul, and he's probably going to go back to the Brotherhood of Steel. And hopefully, and I do hope that he will go back to the Brotherhood of Steel and make it a better faction. I'm not expecting them to be perfect, but
Yeah, he's been made.
I would like them to be better than what they are.
He's been made up to a knight now, an official knight, because they believe that he killed Moldava. Because his friend said, "Oh, you killed her, didn't you?" And he's like, "Well, not really. Oh, don't. It's okay. Well, just say you did." And then the last shot is. What did you notice? The last shot.
I did notice it, and even without playing the video game, I did recognize it.
Okay, so what is it?
We're going to New Vegas, baby.
Yeah. So,
and obviously, if you didn't recognize it as New Vegas, the ending credits kind of confirmed it.
So that's interesting because it'll be nice to see what kind of decisions they have made in terms of decision.
Which is the canonical ending.
Yes, is Mr.
Because I know Mr. House is in New Vegas. So is he going to find Mr. House alive or dead? And doesn't he only survive in like one of the storylines? Like in three of them he dies, but one of them he survives. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean you can keep him alive, but just ignore him. But yeah,
well, that's not a canonical ending if you just don't play the video game.
Well, no, I mean like you can choose a different faction, and like I think you have a choice to kill him or not. You don't have to kill him. You just you can just keep playing. You just keep doing the other missions for the other factions. So the NCR. But yeah, no.
We're trying to give it all away because I haven't yet played it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see which. I presume they would probably go with Mr. House because they've kind of established his character in the previous episode.
I definitely think he's gone there to find Mr. House, but whether or not we will find him alive, that's going to be the interesting thing.
It'd be annoying. It would be annoying if it's actually Mr. House, but Mr. House of 200 years ago, and not the state we see him in the game.
They are keeping things. I don't think the TV show. I don't think the TV show has permission to really retcon things. They were told to do things that would be expected to be within the games because it's considered canon. I think Bethesda will have more control over what happens in the TV show than they would typically do.
Yeah,
possibly.
Would be annoying.
Anything more to say about those two episodes?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers it. It's now that Lucy is going to be tracking down her father to get questions, and Maximus, like you said, he'd be reforming the Brotherhood of Steel. And Howard,
I don't think she'll be getting questions. I think she's got all the answers she needs. I think she might be tracking him down. She might help the Ghoul find his family, and I think she's probably going to try and stop her dad from doing whatever he's going to try and do next. Maybe at the end of season 2, they end up back at Vault 31, 2, and 3, and then they like unfreeze all of the Vault Tech people and then just try them for their crimes or something. I don't know. The
only other thing I would say, where we did touch on earlier, is that we did get the famous quote, which I was quite happy with. The episode itself, I think episode 8, was called War... So
no, it was called The Beginning.
I swear it was called War.
I think they use titles in the episode, but they're not the title.
Right. Okay. But yeah, we definitely get the little speech, which was nice,
and it was from Barbara.
And
someone else said it later on, but I can't remember who. Was it Moldava?
Yes, I think it was.
It was said twice,
and I think that's what I was hoping for. It would be either at the start or even at the end, near the end. So yeah, and I think it's quite fitting to have it in there. But for someone who's probably never played the games, they're like, "Oh, it doesn't. That's not going to mean anything to them." But for people like us who have played the games, it's kind of like, yeah, it's just kind of cool.
Well, I mean, I've only played the one game.
Yeah, but you know the lines.
Yeah.
Like say, like my dad who's watched it, he has never played the games, but he thought it was.
So he has no idea about it. So what do you think about the series as a whole? Good, bad, medium?
I think it's pretty good. I enjoyed it.
You hopeful for season 2?
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I think they've set it up well. I can't guess where it's going to go, but you can kind of vaguely see the storylines they're going to be following. So
yeah, it'd be interesting because we will probably see some of the vaults in the game from New Vegas, like the plant vault. Maybe we'll find out which vault Barbara is in, and maybe the door.
She's definitely going to be in a vault. I suspect she might be in Vault 31. I think she's in.
Yeah, that's what I was just
I
thinking.
think she'll be in 31.
She might be in freeze in the frozen state.
Now here's something I do know that I probably shouldn't know, but isn't Vault 0, which is like the master vault, isn't that in New Vegas? So Vault 0 is like the vault that oversees all of the vaults, and they know that they're aware of all the experiments and everything. Isn't that in New Vegas?
Well, that's what Vault 31 is meant to be in this, isn't it?
Vault 31 is the vault that has the Vault Tech managers in, and it looks after those three. But Vault 0, it's been in one of the previous games. Maybe it's in 1 and 2.
Not too sure.
But it's not an experimental vault. It's where...
And they did discuss that to have a vault that would be like strictly management that would oversee the other votes. So yeah.
So maybe that's where he's going to try and... That's the other place he could... If it's in New Vegas, he might be trying to get to that vault to maybe get credentials, permissions, who knows what, to do whatever he's trying to do. I'm not really... Yeah, it's difficult to try and work out what his game is. It's like he's either there to see Mr. House or try and get into this Vault 0 if it's there.
Well, we know that there is definitely a vault in New Vegas itself. Yeah, we have to wait and see. It should be interesting. I suspect it might be like 2 years away.
Yeah, I'm not expecting it anytime soon, but in fact, I saw something recently that they've been offered a filming location in California as opposed to New York, which is where they've filmed season 1. So they're still at the planning stages. I don't know if they've got scripts written or not, but they certainly haven't started filming, so they're probably too... I think look at Loki season 1 and season 2. It probably look at the difference in time between those two, and we might see something similar for Fallout. Or you could look at The Boys, maybe, which is another Prime TV show. Maybe have a look at the gaps between there. Something like that. But I think 2 years' time, maybe 2026.
Let me just go on a little rant then, quickly, because I remember you mentioned this in one of the previous episodes about Amazon Prime itself. So yeah, I was quite fortunate too, because I was on holiday at the time, so I was watching the show on my tablet, which didn't have any ads, which was good. But the thing that is annoying now is that they've added ads, and you have to pay a little bit extra. Well, you have to pay extra to remove the ads. But also, if you have a 4K TV that supports Dolby Vision, to get Dolby Vision, you need to pay the extra as well. Where it was the Dolby Vision was included before. So I'm just like.
So the funny thing is, I had the exact opposite experience. So watching episodes 1 to 6, I had ads for all of them. When I sat down on Thursday to watch 7 and 8, I didn't get a single ad for either episode. And I wondered if that was because for the finale and the penultimate, they decided to not show ads just so that people could watch it without being interrupted. Did you get ads in episode 7 or 8?
I didn't get any. I was watching on a tablet, so I didn't get any ads.
Oh, right. Okay, fine. So, yeah, it's annoying about the whole... It's like £3 extra a month for no ads, I think. The whole thing about the Dolby Vision, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Because other people do that. Like, if Netflix, it's like 720p for the cheap one, 1080p for the middle one, or 4K for the top tier. If you can afford a 4K TV, realistically, if you've got a 4K TV with Dolby Vision surround sound system, you've got the disposable income to pay extra for Netflix and Disney and Amazon Prime. I have no problem with that.
Well, it's just
realistically.
Well, it's just the fact that it was there originally.
I know they've taken it away, so we're paying more for less. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's not bad, but I really don't like. I really dislike the whole base tier with ads. Like I really don't like that being a thing. But that's everywhere now. I think Apple TV is the only one that doesn't. But I think that will by the end of the year, maybe next year or something. It's just I don't mind it being ad supported, but I don't want to pay $8.99 a month and get ads. Like, give me one or the other. But they've decided we're going to pay them money and get ads, which is kind of like network TV. Like if you buy Sky TV or Virgin or whatever it is in your country, you pay for TV, you still get ads on them. You buy a newspaper, it's got ads in it. So it's not outside the realm of, it already exists in the world. It's just new to this medium. So yeah, I'm never gonna defend it, but it's just the way the world's been. It's just the way it is, man.
Yeah, it just sucks because this kind of show is a lot of budget, and you want to see it in the best possible way. So if I wanted to go back and watch it, I'm kind of missing out because the Dolby Vision allows the best HDR, so best picture quality when watching.
But if you've got a 4K HDR TV, then you've got the money to pay Amazon for the.
I wouldn't do it because of the like I said, because of the spite of having it before and having to pay extra just to have that right taken back.
You haven't for this TV show. You have never been able to pay a single fee for Fallout TV show and get it with 4K HDR. The whole time this show has been on Prime, you have had to pay extra.
Yeah.
To remove ads or get 4K HDR. I do get what your argument is, but just because the rules were one way in the past doesn't mean they apply to things as they are now. You can say that, yes you can, but if the rules change, so what you can say is like, oh, I really dislike the fact that Loki season 1, I could watch that in 4K, but now I have ads and I'm watching it 720p. Because the first time you watched it, you paid for it, you could watch it in 4K HDR. But then Disney changed the rules so that when you've gone back to watch it, you're paying more money and watching an inferior version. Like I get that you could be frustrated about that. But, that's a case where the rules changed from the first time to the second time. But when Loki season 2 came out on a platform that already had ads and different tiers for HD and 4K HDR, you've never been able to watch it with the previous set of rules, so you have to take it with the current.
I see what you're saying.
I'm not saying they're good rules. I'm not by any means saying they're good rules, but that's just how it is. Thank you for listening to this episode. We will be back with another episode looking at the Fallout TV series. He's using a shitty old Dell from about 2006, which he needs to throw in the bin. Because you've just lost the entire recording now, haven't you?
No, let me see. I don't know. It's acting up a little bit today. It hasn't done this in like.
It's a computer from 2005, from 2006. The capacitors are probably leaking out and exploding.
Wow.
You should not be surprised that computer is dying.
I'm very surprised.